Many people today feel like something strange and unsettling is happening to their minds. They sense that their constant internet use and the endless stream of videos they watch online might actually be making them less intelligent. And honestly, this probably doesn't surprise anyone at this point. It's incredibly obvious now that pretty much every social media platform has added some kind of short-form content section that you can easily click into. And they definitely want you to click it because they know you'll likely spend huge amounts of time there, drawn in by the constant newness. The material itself is specifically designed to trap your attention for as long as possible, using whatever tricks it can, sometimes even playing multiple videos at the same time, just to keep things fresh and the dopamine levels high. But now, more and more people are beginning to realize that the deeper they get into this type of content, the more mentally numb and pointless they start to feel. It's gotten to the point where people have come up with a name for it, brain rot content, suggesting that watching this kind of stuff is slowly decaying your brain, that it's falling apart in some strange way. And honestly, there's a little truth in that idea. Research has shown that our attention spans have been shrinking so much so that in 2021, the average phone session only lasted about 10 seconds. And this conversation isn't even new. People have been bringing it up for ages. I'm not really introducing any groundbreaking ideas here. The fact that the term brain rot exists means this has been a topic of discussion for a while now. But the question is, how true is it really? Is today's internet world genuinely punching holes in all of our brains, reducing us to empty, half-aware humans? Just mindless slaves to whatever the algorithm feeds us, locked into our screens. And if that's true, is it something we can even fight? Well, obviously, there's nothing we can do. It's too late. We're finished. Might as well give up. But here's what I think. Maybe we're not asking the right questions. It seems like people these days are deeply attached to the idea that outside forces are to blame for their actions. Like, well, short-form content is everywhere now, and it's so addictive that it's controlling people's lives and turning their brains to mush, making them into non-playable characters. But the reality is, nothing out there actually forces you to do anything. Short-form content isn't alive. It can't physically make you open it and watch. There are tons of harmful things in the world that you probably aren't even tempted to mess with. Now, sure, handing toddlers iPads and turning them into screen-addicted kids is a valid concern. But if you're watching this, chances are your brain is already fully developed, or at least close to it. And if that's true, you need to remember that you are completely responsible for your own choices, even if it doesn't always feel like it. You hear people with anger problems say, "I just can't control my temper." But actually, they can. Lots of people who go through anger management programs eventually realize they had control all along. And overcoming their anger is about understanding and practicing that control in healthier ways. Which brings me to what I believe is the actual source of brain rot in our culture. There's a toxic belief that's been floating around, and honestly, it's probably been here long before social media ever showed up. It's this leech-like idea that you don't really control your actions. That the stuff around you, objects, situations, somehow makes you do things you don't want to do. But that simply isn't true. The real brain rot is this mindset of, I should be getting work done, but my phone is just too addictive. I fall into these content rabbit holes, and I can't break free. Or, once I finally beat this internet addiction, I'll become productive, and then I can finally start living how I want to. That kind of thinking is a trap, a mental cycle you'll never escape if you keep holding on to it. It's a belief built on helplessness. It's like buying into a version of life where you have no free will. And honestly, the beliefs you carry around about yourself often become your reality. If you convince yourself you're powerless, just floating along wherever life takes you, well, that'll become true for you. You'll sit around waiting for perfect circumstances to magically show up. Waiting for everything to align just right before you finally act on the things you already want to do. But here's the thing. On average, you make about 35,000 decisions each day. And making a decision means there are different options available, and you actually have the power to choose between them. Otherwise, it's not a decision at all. And that means you always have the ability to choose differently. Every single one of those decisions could go a different way. Just because some choices feel harder or easier doesn't mean you aren't making them, or that you're not capable of making other ones. A good example of this illusion of control is in elections. The results shape what it feels like to live in a country. The laws change, the rules change, and naturally, your environment shifts too. But whatever result comes out of it, that's the result you live with. You, as one person, don't change the outcome. You're given this illusion of influence. The people with real power, the wealthy, the lobbyists, they run the show. And they offer you this fake sense of control like, look, you get to pick one of these two people. And that makes you feel like you're playing a meaningful role. Like, this is my big moment. I hold the country's future in my hands. But the truth is, you don't. You don't get to decide what the nation's food supply is like, what laws get passed, or what kind of security the borders have. You have the illusion of choice. So arguing about the outcome, in my view, is a waste of time. It's like sitting at a poker table, getting your cards, and instead of playing your hand as well as you can, even if it's a terrible one, you complain about the cards you got dealt. You pick fights with the dealer and the other players about how unfair your hand is. But no matter what, you've got the hand you've got. You might have a clear idea of what a good hand looks like, but even if you get the best one, someone else might have something better depending on what's in play. In the end, it's your decisions that shape the outcome for you. You have much less control over what cards you're dealt than you'd like to think, but far more power over how you play them than you realize. So what does all of this actually mean? How do we deal with brain rot? How do you take real control of your life and make changes so you stop feeling like a background character in your own story and get back behind the wheel? Let's talk about some practical steps. All right, now that you understand the mindset you need to tackle brain rot, which in my opinion is the most crucial part, what are some actual, simple things you can do to hold on to that mindset and stay focused? How do you stop being a passive consumer, wasting the day on useless videos, and regretting it afterward? The first big thing you can do is to pay attention to something I call mental posture and build your daily routine with that idea in mind. Now, what do I mean by mental posture? Well, most people kind of instinctively get what I'm talking about. Think about when you've been watching videos nonstop. It feels like mentally you're leaning back, your mind just sprawled out, aimlessly scrolling, stuck in a passive mode. You're looking for stuff to entertain you, to fill the space, and you don't feel like taking any action. The goal here isn't to turn yourself into a flawless robot. It's to feel like you're becoming a better version of yourself, one step closer to the kind of person you actually want to be. So for me, I've worked hard to structure my mornings so that I start with a more active, take charge kind of mental posture. And it's incredibly tough to get into that mindset if you start the day off already stuck in that passive mode. Meaning, don't start your day as a passive consumer. And you can do this by simply doing nothing, really. Just don't pick up your phone right away. It sounds too simple, but it works. Go get your coffee or whatever you like in the morning. Ease into the day with very little stimulation. Start focusing on the things you actually care about for the day ahead. And I believe if you avoid drowning yourself in content first thing in the morning, your natural motivation starts to wake up on its own. With no external noise, just a warm cup of coffee and maybe the sound of rain on the window, your mind will actually have room to think. You'll start to consider things like, all right, I have work today. How do I want this to go? You'll start figuring out how you can play the cards you're dealt today in a smarter way, steering the wheel yourself. And the second thing you can do is remove the triggers that pull you into this endless consumption cycle. One of the best moves you can make is to, number one, delete those time-wasting apps from your phone. Seriously. Just get rid of the stuff you don't want in your life. It seems like a no-brainer, but most people won't do it. They keep these pointless, addictive apps sitting on their phones, expecting they'll magically never tap them again. You don't even need to delete your accounts. Just remove the app itself. Make it a little inconvenient. If you really need to check something, you can still log in on your computer or reinstall it later. But putting that tiny barrier in place makes a bigger difference than you might think. It turns an automatic habit into a conscious decision. And sometimes, that little pause is all it takes to realize you don't actually care about whatever you were about to open. Another thing that helps a lot is replacing bad habits with good ones. If you're trying to cut down on short-form videos, it's not enough to just delete apps and stare at the wall all day. Your brain craves stimulation, and if you don't give it something better, it'll find a way to go back to what's easy. So instead of scrolling through TikTok, open a book. Go for a short walk. Start learning a skill you've been curious about. Even simple things like tidying your room or making a to-do list can snap you out of passive mode and shift you into action. It's about training your brain to get that dopamine from things you actually want to be proud of. Now, one last idea I want to share is what I call breaking the loop. If you ever catch yourself in a cycle, maybe it's been an hour of videos, or you've been lying around doing nothing productive, stop everything and physically move. Stand up. Walk outside. Stretch your arms. It sounds too easy, but physically breaking the posture and location you're in helps reset your brain. It reminds you that you're not trapped in this loop and that you can decide what to do next. At the end of the day, this whole brain rot thing isn't really about technology or algorithms controlling you. It's about the little moments where you either choose to stay asleep or wake up, where you either grab the wheel or keep coasting. And once you start to notice those moments, you realize how much of your life is built on tiny, repeatable decisions. It's not about quitting everything fun or turning into some ultra-disciplined machine. It's about creating a version of your life where you feel like you're actually living it, instead of just reacting to it. So if you're feeling numb, drained, or stuck in an endless content loop, you're not broken. Your brain isn't rotting. You've just fallen into a habit cycle. And habits can be changed. Start small. Pay attention to your mental posture. Make your mornings yours again. Clear out the clutter that pulls you into passivity. And give yourself better things to chase. You're still in there. You've still got the wheel.